just having the elected officials in the city of Dallas even discuss, much less seriously pursue, trying to abandon and destroy City Hall is the most ludicrous thing I could think of. This is just flat stupid.
Dallas City Hall opened to international fanfare in 1978, designed by an architect who would become one of the most admired in the world, and for a city to embrace its citizens and show the world a new progressive spirit. For 48 years, it has been the gathering point for celebrations, protests, and memorials, and a place for citizens to hold its leaders to account. But now it is the target of a campaign to demolish it and turn it over to private developers. The City Council voted to give outside consultants $3 million to push the deal forward, but it's refused to take advice from experts who know the building the best, people like David Voss, City Hall's original project manager, who has worked on large building projects for 50 years. Here, he speaks at length about the decision that faces us.
I would never thought in my lifetime we would come to this. I never thought in my lifetime that City Hall would even have any glimmer of being abandoned. And I know it has no glimmer of just falling down, because it's not going to do that. And so I don't understand how we got to where we are. And we actually got here fairly quickly in the response and what we hear from our elected officials. I mean, this has been going on maybe for 2 years, the discussion behind the scenes. We haven't heard about that for maybe just a year. It's been a topic. Out of 50 years of history with a building that's the heart of Dallas, we're going to speed this process up for who knows what reason. It's still not clear to anyone except a handful of people why they're doing this. But to speed this decision up to less than a year, months, and weeks that they are taking to make decisions on a 50-year-old landmark building in Dallas is just beyond stupid. It's just ignorance. It's a willingness for the city council and the mayor and the management of the city of Dallas to ignore the will of the people, to not be a part of the process. And then when the process has started and a resistance has built, then ignore the resistance and ignore the facts and ignore what the citizens really want to do. And they have just friggin' forgotten who they work for. And so I'll just talk a little bit about that. I worked for the city twice. I worked for the city for 11 years in one stint. And I worked for the city for about 4 years before that at a different time. I have a pretty clear picture of what the city of Dallas and the management of the city of Dallas is supposed to be doing. I was there. I was involved in it. I got to witness it done right, and not done right back in the day, done in an excellent way. And the way it should work is that the city council of the city of Dallas should work for the citizens. The citizens should tell the council what they want, and the council should go do that. And with a layer of also what needs to happen for the goodness of the entire city, a broader view than a district by district view. But that's what the council should do. And the council should tell the city manager what to do. The city manager works for the council. And when the hell did that get forgotten in this process? We're in a position right now where the city manager is telling the council what to do, and they do it. And that is an upside down democracy, which leaves the citizens completely out of the picture. So that's sort of what I think about where we are in trying to communicate with this government and trying to make the government work for us. I got a job at the new City Hall as building manager of City Hall. I was one of more than one building managers. We had some specialty building managers there, but I was the operations guy. And so I ran the building, a lot of the trades worked for me, and that was my job.
That building.
I know that building. I saw them pour the last pieces of concrete in that building. I saw them finish painting it. I saw them take the cranes down when they were finished and, kind of walk away and give it to us. And I started actually hiring people to work on City Hall 6 months before it opened. We were officed in the 500 South Irvay building that's just next door to City Hall. Still there. It faces west, facing City Hall. Our offices were there, and I was hiring a staff. I was hiring plumbers and electricians and painters, carpenters, to be ready to maintain Dallas City Hall. And
no one other than maybe the contractor and the architect knew more about it than you did.
That's probably accurate. Now, the architect and the contractor knew a lot more about it than I did. They'd been there for years, but a lot of years, working on it, and of course, Pay and Group designed it. But I knew the building inside and out. And my guys would go over there every day. Would go over there, and they would be doing stuff like taking nameplate data off of the electrical equipment that everybody poo-poos right now. Federal Pacific electrical equipment. We're taking nameplate data off of that and the air conditioning equipment so that we can put together parts lists, and we're putting together maintenance logs and maintenance schedules. How are we going to maintain this? Well, we're going to change the filters every 30 days. We're going to change the belts on the air handlers every 6 months. We're going to do these adjustments and learning how to operate that building. And in fact, at the time, I was sent to Kewanee Boiler School to learn how these boilers worked. And I went to controls, air conditioning controls, week-long class, learn how the air conditioning controls work. But we were putting a program together, start taking care of City Hall the day that it was given to us. And in fact, we actually started taking over City Hall before the contractors left. There were a lot of hard-working folks, that came on board, and I guarantee you, we didn't hire slouches either. We got some pretty premier employees and gathered them together for City Hall. It was like the best of the best. I came from the building services department. I knew who all the good guys in-house were, and so I just stole them when I went to City Hall. I stole them from the northwest quadrant and southeast quadrant. I took them from wherever we could find them, the best ones, and those that we didn't have, the ones that we really needed, we hired some people off the street also to come in and fill those gaps. But we were fully staffed when we opened City Hall with some really good people. And we had, I hate to say unlimited budget, but we had a significant budget. We had significant monies identified for that building, because this building was the center of city life. You have to understand. Inside the city of Dallas, not only in a greater city life too, because it was becoming a really big deal. Everybody in Dallas was watching this getting built. They knew it was starting to get ready to open. The construction fences were coming down. The cranes were being taken off and all of that. But everybody that worked for the city of Dallas was really excited about it also. And so we had, free reign's the wrong word, but we had documented the need to take care of this icon of a building, because the city of Dallas had never owned anything like it before in their life. They hadn't owned anything that was as significant as it. And believe it, in the day, we're beating it up 50 years later, but it was technologically advanced. It was state of the art, and it was extremely large statement inside the city and outside of the city. I have to mention the healing nature of City Hall at that point in time. I moved to Dallas in 1963. Our family moved from LaPorte, Texas, south of Houston, little podunk town, to Dallas, Texas in the summer of 1963. And so I was 13 years old. We moved to Dallas. I thought I had arrived in New York City or something. Man, this was so cool to be in this big city and so much going on, so much to do, all that sort of thing. And then very shortly after that, I was sitting in a classroom in Cary Junior High when the announcement was made over the loudspeaker that the President of the United States has been shot in Dallas. And it was like, I don't know, I was deflated, because I came to this place that was just perfect. It was a shining city on the hill, and now it just felt like, maybe what's wrong with this? This doesn't feel good. And then that whole sentiment kind of grew in Dallas. For years it grew. It grew that people were embarrassed by what happened to the president. It wasn't Dallas's fault. It wasn't a Dallasite that did it, but the city of Dallas was taking the blame, right or wrong, and became known as the city of hate. And so all of these things were building up from 1963 until 1977 when I arrived at City Hall. And I was so proud to be a part of this. And this was such a leap forward, it's such a big, bold, positive statement for the city of Dallas. And I was going to get to be there. I was a little part, but I was going to get to be there and be part of that. It was the most exciting time. Maybe I've done some exciting things. That may be the most excited I've ever been in my life about work, to be in that environment and to be a part of that project, and then working through the whole process of taking it over from the contractor, organizing the maintenance activities, because yes, we did maintenance on the building then rigorously, and we took care of that building. And then being there for the opening of it, being there for the first council meeting happened in March of 1978. We moved people in. Let me back up. We started moving people in, getting ready to move people in December of 1977. We started moving people in December to January. Over the holidays, we actually did a lot of moving and prep work. And then we started moving people in January of 1978 into the building. Well, the first council meeting happened in March of 78. That was not the dedication, but it was the first time the council met in the chambers. And me and my team even came up with this scheme of talking to Ted Amberg and the pay people. They thought it would be really cool if we could do something to cover and expose the city seal and the city council chamber during that grand opening first council meeting. And so me and my guys, we came up with this scheme that we got some drapes, and we got electrical conduit, ropes, drapes, and a bunch of people in ladders, and we built this contraption that went on top of the top wall, the second floor wall behind the council horseshoe where the council and mayor sit. So this drape came all the way down to the ground, and it had ribbons on it. And then at the appropriate time, we got a signal, and my guys, it all looked kind of automatic. Just like this drape just pulls up, and it exposes the seal of Dallas. Behind the scenes, though, I had 6 guys on ladders with ropes that are pulling like hell, and they devised this whole thing about when it gets to the top, then this little piece of crumpled up drapery was at the top. They just pulled on another rope, and it just flopped back over the wall, and it just disappeared. It was great. That was so cool. But for me to be there then and see that drape come up and expose that city seal, and then for me to now have to be down there in that same damned horseshoe facing that city seal and fight to save it, that's personal. That's personal to me.
It's more than a seal. It's more than city government. It's us.
It is us. It's bigger than the building. It's bigger than the seal. It's Dallas. That is Dallas. And, the building's not broken, but something about the democratic process in Dallas is broken. And that's what breaks my heart. And they're trying to blame the building on what's wrong. They just need to look in a damn mirror. It's city management, it's part of the council, and not all of the council, and it's damn sure not the city employees. Bless their hearts. I've actually been contacted by quite a few current city employees because of my activities and trying to do something to try to save City Hall. They are, to a person, disgusted with what's going on, and the attempt that's being made to abandon and destroy City Hall. It's not the employees.
What does City Hall need right now?
City Hall right now, it needs to be saved first. Once it is saved, it needs to be repaired, and then it needs to be maintained. It needs management, upper city management, and elected officials that first care about it and care about Dallas and will invest the time, the money, and the resources to take care of it and make it last forever. That is the most economically feasible thing to do. It's the most ecologically sound thing to do. And it's just the right thing to do, is to save City Hall and then start taking care of it. They need a plan. I think that there are probably employees down there that would stand up and take care of that building if they had a chance and if they had the money to do it. One of the frustrations that I feel at this point in time is that the questions are being asked by people that don't understand what needs to happen. The questions are being answered by people that don't understand what needs to be happened. Then decisions are made with that information. I've been managing properties in the construction and property management business for over 50 years at this point in time. I've managed properties and been involved in them all over the world, in Brussels, in Shanghai. I've worked on projects in Los Angeles, in New York, and I've worked on buildings that are much older than City Hall and much bigger. City Hall is about 770,000 square feet. I managed a building that was 2.3 million square feet and 5 years older than City Hall is. So I've been around and I kind of know what's going on. And since this whole discussion has started, I've tried to insert myself into this process, saying, hey, I got an opinion. Hey, how about listening to me? Hey, you, up and down the chain, including my city council member, who has refused to see me personally 5 times in the last 7 months. Finally, I did get to meet with a human that was one of his assistants, but he refused to see me. I delivered documents to him. I would email him, give him stuff to do, hand stuff to his employees and say, get this to him. And I've just been ignored. And it's so frustrating for me to be out here with my only interface with the elected officials of a building that I care so much about. My only interface is limited to somewhere between 3 and 1 minute. Every 30 days, I can go speak to my council about what I think I know, and it's awfully hard to get a dialogue going on in 3 minutes every 30 days in a council meeting about something as complex, difficult, not hard, just complex. And you have to be smart about what to do. And there's nobody, I don't think, that's smart enough to know what to do. I know what to do. I'm not saying that I'm the smartest person, but I've been in the right places. I've been at the right time. I know that building. I probably know that building as well as maybe anybody. I damn sure know more about that building than every one of the consultants has come in the last 6 months to a year and tried to tell the city council what to do with it. I know that building better than they do. The council won't listen to me. Why the hell are they listening to them? City Hall can be fixed, and it can be fixed a lot easier than everyone is promoting it can be. Everybody always wants to ask me, so what does it cost? What does it cost to fix City Hall? Right now, the estimates are somewhere between, they started between $150 million or so, the city's numbers, $150 million, escalated up to over $300 million with the ACOM report. And then in the last gyrations of asking the wrong question and getting the wrong answer, or the consultant study on how to fix City Hall, came up with numbers that were between $590 million and $620 million hard cost, ramped up with all of their bullshit. Percentages on that came up to 1.1 billion, I think, to $1.6 billion, something like that, something stupid. What does City Hall cost to get fixed? It's not $1.6 billion. It's not $1.1 billion. It's not $600 million, and it's not $500 million. What does it cost? I don't know. I can't get into it to look at it right now. If I could get into it and look at it, I'd have a better idea. But it's none of those numbers. That's my point. It is none of those numbers. If I had to guess, looking at all the reports that have been put together, and everything's been discussed about City Hall right now, and sifting through that, what's probably true and what's not, what's exaggerated, what's not. I spent a lot of time in City Hall, not invited, over the last 6 months, and dug through everything I could find. I would say that it's probably cost $150 to $250 million to completely redo City Hall so that it is back to a condition that it can be maintained going forward. And that $150 to $250 million does not have to be spent all at the same time. You can pay a little bit of money now, do what's in a priority basis needs to happen. Some of those things are, I understand, I can't get in there to look. I understand that there is actually a generator that supports the 911 center right now that will not run. It does not work. That is stupid as shit. But that needs to get fixed. I think that cost about $3 million. So great, $3 million. I think the roof leaks. In fact, the roof probably does leak. The roof is almost 50 years old. It's a 3-ply built up roof, conventional roof, great roof. They have a lifespan of about 25 years. And this is not just pie in the sky. Roofs kind of wear out over time, hail, wind, water, all that. So that roof was replaced 25 years ago. And so it lasted about 25 years from when it was new to 25 years. Now it's been another 25 years and that roof needs to be replaced. It's ponding water. It does have some leaks. They're not terrific. It's not killing anybody and nobody's in danger. But it is having some leaks and it needs to be fixed. I think my best estimation, with all of the factors related to that roof, 12 roofs, by the way, not a roof. There are 12 of them, 12 different roofs. It's in a downtown location, 24/7 building. It's an iconic place. It has 911 in it, and it's 7 stories tall. Taking all that into consideration, it cost about $70 a square foot to replace that roof. And there are cooling towers mounted on top of that roof in some places. It should cost about $70 a square foot. The building's about, if I remember right, it's about 110,000 square feet. That's about $8 million. So let's say that we could spend $3 million on generators, fixing one, replacing one, and fixing some other ones. We add about $8 million to that. We come up to about $11 million. I think we should spend $1.2 million on ADA compliance issues that have been identified already. There's actually money to do that already. And so we'd add that to the current funds. And then I think the electrical components of the City Hall are something that needs to be studied. It has all Federal Pacific switchgear in it. The consultants had an estimate of, I believe it was $195 million worth of electrical equipment renovations and replacements. And then they added consultants' fees and profit and overhead and all that stuff on top of that. It won't cost that. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. All that equipment is not terribly bad. They said, well, it's defective equipment. Well, it is, it's been there for 50 years. It's been working pretty damn well, but no one has tested it. And so I'm recommending that they'd spend a couple of $1 million and go in there and do some infrared testing on that equipment. Find out if there are hot spots, if there are, deal with those, repair them, fix them, switch some equipment out, priorities to non-priorities, and then start a program to do a renovation of the existing equipment, not a replacement of it. And it's an industry that it exists, people come in and take that old switchgear, they take the guts out of it, they put new guts in it, and then it's all perfectly safe, will last another 50 years. But you save the enclosure, the conduits, the wires, the connections, and so you're not replacing all of that stuff that does not have a lifespan. It's good forever with the guts that can make it work. And that plan needs to be executed. To do the testing, put together a program of doing that in a realistic fashion. And then a long, hard discussion needs to happen with the fire marshal of the city of Dallas, which I don't have the authority to do right now. I wished I could, but I have no standing to go ask the fire marshal anything about City Hall. But the fire safety, although the building's safe, it's solid concrete, don't get me wrong, some improvements need to be made. Some smoke ventilation, some pressurization needs to happen, and some fire sprinkler additions need to be made after visiting with the fire marshal. That's what needs to happen to City Hall. I think they need to spend about $14 million right now. They have $19 million sitting in a capital budget right now to be spent on City Hall. And it's going to expire if they don't spend it. I'm recommending they spend $14 million, as I just discussed, of that $19 million that they already have, that will fix a lot of problems and give them all the information they need to move into the future to have a City Hall that will last a minimum of another 50 years. That's what they need to do.
Let me ask you this. If they were to move to another building, which would presumably be another building of around the same age in downtown Dallas, you're going to have the same costs. You may be paying someone else plus their profit. You're going to have those costs anyway, aren't you?
Yes. The problem is that you're going to have those costs as provided by a landlord, and you're going to be sitting under a lease in which you have no control to make these decisions. Does that make any sense at all? We're in a building that we own. We can make rational decisions about how to maintain it, how to take it forward, that we control and we fund. Or we can just go pay a triple net lease to a landlord and take all of our control out of it. And that will just ramp up into this big gross payment that we will make that will always be inflated with actual cost. Taxes go up. Oh yeah, we'll be paying taxes on that too through the lease, by the way. I don't think the city of Dallas is paying taxes on City Hall right now, okay? But taxes go up, it comes back through the lease. Expenses go up, comes back through the lease. If the roof blows off of a building that you're leasing on a triple net lease, you pay your proportionate share for that roof. But you have no choices in how to do that. You're just going to get a bill. That's where the city of Dallas thinks they want to go. And it come back to where we started this conversation. It's just ridiculous that anybody can think that makes any kind of sense.
There is a push by the city manager's office and some council people to put a bond issue before the voters that would include moving the emergency operations out of City Hall.
Right.
You know that I can't get in there.
You cannot.
They won't let me get in there. I have some pictures of it, but I can't get in there. How secure is that, and what would be involved in replacing that?
It's very secure. It's secure from an entrance standpoint. It's secure from an intrusion standpoint. It's secure from an assault standpoint in its current location. It's a bunker. It was designed to be that. It was designed in a world that was not as significantly dangerous as the current world is. After we had airplanes fly into buildings on United States soil, we changed our philosophy about how secure things need to be. The philosophy has reverted to build critical infrastructure in bunkers. What foresight and what value is it to the city of Dallas to have already built their critical infrastructure into bunkers to where it's protected? We were there way before it was the trend. We are still there. Why would we think that it would be a good idea to go dig a big deep hole somewhere, I assume, pour a lot more concrete, put in some more generators, and then try to move a 911 center into that location? And you think it's going to be better? No, it's not going to be better. You've got the best that probably has ever existed. Does it need some work? Yeah, it needs some work. It does not need to have a generator that doesn't work. But that's not the building's fault. That's not the 911 center location. And that's not the reason it was planned and designed and put there's fault. It was designed and planned very well. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed just like everything else, and it needs to stay right where it is. It would take the city of Dallas. It would take this city management. It would take this city management probably 4 or 5 months to come up with a good study and solution about a location for this. We're probably going to see one on August the 5th of this year. They're going to think they've got it all figured out. Don't trust that. It's going to take them another at least 12 months to design and engineer a solution based on a location and the needs for 911. Now we have plans. It's going to take another 6 months to get permits and authorities to start construction. And then it's going to take them probably, I'm guessing on what they think they're probably going to build, it's probably going to take them another 2 or 3 years to build it. And then it's going to take them 6 months to migrate from one center to the other. We're now 4, 5 years in the future. They might be in a situation that they could actually relocate the 911 center, and they don't have a clue that that's what they're looking at. They think they can just go out and pick a location, throw up a glass chrome building, and move 911 into it and call it pretty. They're completely out of their league. These decisions are above this council and management's pay grade. They're not qualified to make them.
How does all this happen? What are we in? What is this? What is this?
Oh, no. I think I'll age myself with, I think Rod Sterling's going to walk from behind that corner and say, "Welcome to the Twilight Zone." I mean, this is there are dynamics here. There are dynamics going on in this decision with this group of leaders that are beyond normal thought and beyond logical approaches, beyond historical intelligence about how you do things. And I don't know what these dynamics are. I could do the conspiracy theorist about this person's getting paid off and this happened and that happened and all that. And I don't want to get caught up in all that. I'll just say that something's happening that's not normal. It's not natural. It's not Dallas. It's not anything that most people can wrap their heads around, because it's doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. And I don't know. I think at some point we might know the answer to what is going on now. But it's being hidden right now. It's been being hidden very deep. We've seen glimpses of it, it's the Mavericks, it's the Stars, it's this, it's the real estate developers, it's the vacancy in downtown Dallas, it's that, let's go into a downtown Dallas building. Yeah, but they don't have any parking left because they've sold all their parking out. They're 30% but out of parking, so the city of Dallas is going to come in and take their space. But then what are you going to do with city employee parking? All that crap that's flying around it's not the core issue. And I'm not sure I know what the core issue is. But it's beyond reasonable thought and rationale.
then back to, it's an emotional issue for you and me too, because I grew up here. I was here in 1963. I was a reporter at City Hall, not when it opened, but a few months later, 1978. There was so much pride in that building. There was pride. Dallas was turning around. And I have the feeling we're turning around again in a different direction.
I think there's indication that we could be turning around in a different direction at this point in time. I refuse to accept that it has to happen, and I refuse to accept that it will happen. I think that Dallas is bigger than that, and Dallas is bigger than 8 city council members, a mayor, and a city manager, and they're fixing to find that out. I want to tell you one more story. Can I tell you one more story? I've got 2 keepsakes here. All right. I've got a few more, but I'm going to talk about 2. This is my piece of City Hall. I've kept this with me since I left. This was a core drill that was made. You go in that City Hall right now and you get up in the Great Court. It was a great court. It can again be a great court, although it's been, it needs a little work. It needs some rearranging and some reuse. But they were core drilling for the brass handrails that go around City Hall's Great Court one day. And I was up there, and everything at City Hall was a mass production. Man, there were people everywhere. Machines are going, and cranes and concrete and all that stuff. And they were just drilling these things, and the core drill through concrete. It's kind of hard to drill through concrete like that. Diamond bit drill, and they're drilling these things in there, and they just sit there in the concrete like that, and somebody would come by with a chisel and put it right there and pop, and it would pop out. It would break out. And then they'd do this all the way down. Every time you go up to the Great Court, just look and see how many of these things that were going on down there. Well, I just grabbed one off the ground, and I don't know why I did. So that's kind of cool. So I went and I put it on my desk. It stayed on my desk. It stayed on every desk that I've ever had since that day in 1977. And that's just my little piece of City Hall. And I don't...
What does that piece tell you?
It tells me that it's 50 years old. It's a hell of a stout thing, isn't it? I don't think it's going anywhere. You think it's going to break? I don't think so. It tells me that the strength of City Hall obviously goes beyond this little piece of concrete, but it's my memento of the strength of that building, that structure, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, culturally. That's a concrete thing. Then I got another little memento here. This was my badge. This was my patch that I had on my City of Dallas uniform. I worked for the city for a lot of years, 11 years, the last stint. But I came into that city in that stint as a tool carrying maintenance guy. So I had a uniform like everybody else would then, and I had my uniform on my little shirt. And a lot of people, frown on uniforms. I was proud of this. I was proud that I was a city employee. I was proud of what that meant, that I got to wear that on my shirt. It guided me in how I did things, the quality that I expected from myself and others. And so I did that, wore that uniform for a while. I got promoted and got another promoter, got a supervisor, and then I got promoted to be building manager at City Hall. Then I got another promotion. I was over the responsibility for maintenance in downtown buildings. Then I became the assistant director of the building services department. And so through all those, my uniform, I wouldn't wear my uniform anymore, okay? All of a sudden, I was a coat and tie guy. And so I was wearing suits and ties for most of my career with the City of Dallas. And then the day that I was going to I was going to retire from the City of Dallas and go off and work in the private sector. it just came time for me. I figured out I'd done about everything I needed to do in the city of Dallas. I'm going to go see if I can make it in the private sector. It's a big, scary world out there. Maybe I have an opportunity to do something out there. So I decided to leave the city. And at that time, I had gotten to a level in the city of Dallas that, some people knew who I was and what I was doing and stuff like that. And so they had a retirement party for me in the flag room of the council chamber, which brings me back to a whole nother emotional element every time I walk into the flag room to go make a speech to this council. I walk through the room that I retired from. But they had a party for me there. The city manager, Chuck Anderson, was there. Camille Cates Barnett, his assistant, was there. A bunch of directors that I sat at those budget tables with. Just a bunch of people were there. Were going to be there. And so as this big party was planned, this is my last day. What am I going to do? I said, well, I don't know. It's kind of weird, and I feel kind of weird about the whole thing. My office was in 6B north of City Hall. You go up the blue elevators, you get off the blue elevators, you go north, walk out. My office was one of those slanted window offices, looked out over Dallas from the 6th floor. It was a pretty cool place. But I decided on my last day, I was going to wear my city uniform, not my suit. And so I put my city uniform on with this patch on it. And from home, I went to work in my city uniform. 2 or 3 things happened to me during that little adventure. I got on the elevators, the blue elevators from employee parking downstairs, and got on the blue elevators to go up to my office. And when I got on the elevator, before, when I wore a coat and tie, everybody, hey, how are you? Good morning, good morning, good morning. I walked in this uniform, and it was crowded. It was morning traffic, everybody going in. It was like I didn't exist. All of a sudden, I'm leaned up against the wall over there, and I'm just a guy in a uniform. And nobody was saying good morning. Nobody was saying anything to me. And I said, this is kind of weird. This is really weird. I walked into my own office, and it took people were doing double and triple takes until they figured out who I was because I had on a uniform. And then I went to my going away party, and it was great, and people had nice things to say about me. But my takeaway from that whole adventure and that decision to do that, there's a reason I did that, because I had great pride in being a city employee. I had great pride with the people that I worked for that were uniform wearing employees at City of Dallas. And for the rest of my career, I've always continued to have great admiration for the people that wear the uniforms, wear the patches, carry the tools, do the hard work. They sweat, they bleed, they cuss and they yell, and most of them try to do the best damn job they can do. And so, this little patch means a lot to me. And this little patch means I've earned the right to come tell the city of Dallas what I think they're screwing up about the way they manage City Hall.
Is the city letting down those employees?
There could not be a better statement to conclude that they are by them making a decision to furlough the employees for 3 days in the summer of 2026 because they can't afford to make payroll. With the same breath, the last council meeting that occurred before the break, they decided to take $3 million out of the operating budget to pay consultants to go through the next round of studies to abandon and destroy City Hall. $3 million to consultants to put together a program to abandon and destroy City Hall, and within a week decide to furlough employees and not pay them.
After promising to pay them.
After promising to pay them. And that shows absolute disrespect for the city's employees. absolute.
Okay, I'm assuming there are going to be people watching you talk here. What's your message to them, to the people of Dallas? What can we do?
Never surrender. Never surrender. What are the go-dos? Call, write, text, email your council member 3 times a day. I heard a council member, my council member, in fact, make a comment that nobody ever contacts his office about the City Hall issue. That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I've contacted his office a cajillion times. I've sat outside of his office in City Hall talking to his assistant because he wouldn't talk to me about City Hall. So they're trying to just let this fade away. We cannot let them do that. I think there's many things to do, but one thing is, even though you're frustrated with your council person, don't let that frustration take you to inaction. Assault. Go after them, not physically. Go after them with emails, texts, phones. When you go to a meeting with a city council member, even if it's to talk to the police department or introduce the chief of the police or something else, call them out, call them aside. Don't be disruptive, don't be rude, but call them out and call them aside to talk about City Hall. Do that every chance you get. So that's one thing. Write letters to the editor, post stuff, get your friends involved. And the most important thing, I think, right now, I'm not sure we're going to see through the fog to figure out exactly what's going on at this point in time. I damn sure don't see a future in the next 30 days that 8 council members and the mayor are going to change their votes. Maybe, but maybe not. Probably not. But November 2027, everyone on the council and the mayor has to be reelected or elected anew. Some are terming out, but every council member and the mayor will be replaced in November of 2027. And although I hope none of this happens, they're not competent enough to do anything that would be long-lasting damage to City Hall between now and November of 2027. They can't do it. They couldn't put together an IKEA shelf with the instructions. How are they going to replace City Hall? How are they going to tear it down? They're not going to do that. They're going to create all kinds of crap. They're going to spend money that they shouldn't be spending on studies and researches. They might even try to start a construction of a 911 center, all that sort of thing. But a new council and a new mayor come November 2027 can undo all of that damage and save the city of Dallas's heart. And that's the ultimate game, is to win that. And in the meantime, create resistance. Talk to them, speak to them, talk to your friends, make sure all your friends are registered to vote, make sure they're active in voting. But that's the way a democracy is supposed to work. And that's the way ultimately that will save this democracy, is through a democratic process of voting someone in that will be responsive to the citizens.
We can't afford to let the city hall go.
We cannot. We cannot.